Hello. I'll just give it a minute as we go live and take a couple of deep breaths for myself and for any of you that are watching this on the replay. So deep breath in, letting it out, and a deep breath in, and letting it out. So my hair was getting all crazy tonight. It's been a long day, so I just twisted it up in a bun for this live. Hey, Dr. Jaren. So, welcome. I was just spending a couple of minutes sitting with what I'm going to talk about tonight. But for those of you that might be new to this, this is day 24. I have been going live every day for 24 days, and I'm doing this because while I was in a healing session, I received a download to go live. Hey, Amy. I received a download to go live every day for 30 days. And instead of questioning, and if you watch some of the earlier videos, I explained my experience in this, where I had this once before a long time ago and didn't listen. Anyway, this time I listened, and it's been a really beautiful adventure. And some days were challenging, some days were just so much flow, and yeah, it's been really great. So anyway, I'm here with you now. The phone is, let me just fix that. Okay. And I'm going to take a little sip. I was drinking my green drink tonight. I normally just drink that in the morning, but I'm feeling like the last couple of days I get to have it at night too. So anyway, I taught my class tonight, Reiki Crystal Meditation, at Casa Mata Bliss in Delray Beach. And tonight we talked about what's happening in astrology with the new moon, and there's two different retrogrades, not Mercury retrograde, two other ones, Neptune and Saturn. And the overall theme was about that this is a really sensitive time with the new moon in Cancer. And this is a time where we can really go back and look at healing self-abandonment. And there was a few other things. It's in my notes, which is in my phone, so I'm not going to be able to access that at this moment. But the main theme was to slow down and honor your feelings and really feel them. So if you notice you've been feeling more, you might be really connected to what's happening in the astrology. Hey, Olivia. And so I'm getting a comment. Makes so much sense why I've been so emotional lately. Yes, me too. As I think I mentioned a few videos ago, I've been crying a little more often. So yes, so with this new moon coming up, we're already feeling the effects of it, plus the two retrogrades. So yeah, so the idea was slowing down to feel, honoring your feelings, and also healing self-abandonment was a part of it. And then, of course, nurturing. So Cancer is like a hard shell and a soft inside. So we want to start building that safe space, of course, in your home, but everywhere, in your car, in your workspace, and most importantly, inside this meat suit that you're wearing, your body, right? So how can you start to feel more safe inside your body? And there are plenty of ways to do that, and you can go back in some of the other videos that I've done to access some tips and tricks. And so with that energy of slowing down and receiving, and then the card that came through for the group was about being in your power, right? Shining your light. It had a big lightning bolt on it. So that was really cool. Obviously, because when the card reading is matching the theme, that's always fun. So that's the energy of tonight. And so what I wanted to talk about was a couple of things from my experiences from today. One of them was a client experience that was shared with me that I thought was so beautiful. This particular client is going through a way to process and repair relationship rupture in her family. And so she got one of my pre-recorded meditations, which is a compassion reset meditation. And she's been working with that one, and she gave me some beautiful feedback on it, that she felt that it was so powerful for her. And she's coming out with starting to really feel this radical acceptance for everyone in her family. And I don't want to go into the complete details, but she's going to this major awakening of acceptance. And if you've seen some previous videos that I've done in this group, when we come to acceptance, we can come to peace, and we can come deeper into our power, right? So we are in our power when we come into acceptance. When we start to fight things, then we actually start to lose our power, where we might think that we're gaining power, but we're actually not. And and so she was just, one of the things she said is that she felt like she was beginning again in love. And my heart just opened reading that. And I know how difficult it can be to get to that place. And it's such a beautiful thing when that happens, especially when you have felt really challenged. So I've had to work on that myself, obviously, which is why it's in my program. And so I'm just seeing what's coming through. So as we begin to accept and come into more of a love frequency, that is a way of a process of a part of your ascension, a way to elevate your soul, raise your frequency, right? Because you're coming to a space of love and letting go of control and trusting. And what's even deeper than that is coming to a place of, again, like what I was talking about tonight, having that safe space in your body, starting to create your body as this place of refuge, a place that you can go and trust within yourself. And there's many ways to do that and build that trust inside of yourself. And we become, from lack of a better term, like the terminology is like we could become more weak, right? So the idea is to do this before the relationship has a permanent rupture. Sometimes the lessons come a little late. Sometimes relationships need to rupture and need to separate. Hey, love. Sometimes relationships need to rupture, need to separate, and then come back once both parties, or however many parties, do their work on their own. So, but the idea is that the healing really comes when everybody starts to create a safer space and a refuge inside of themselves, right? Where we start to feel safer in our bodies. And that's where we start to implement some of the techniques that I've shared in some of the other videos. But we want to use movement, breath, and sound, as well as journaling, right? We want to be able to name our feelings, but we want to be able to move it. And sometimes we don't even need to tell the story. We just can move it out of our body, because the anxiety, the depression that most people feel is from the neck down, not from the neck up. So the therapy has its place, and it's very important, and we get to incorporate the body for long-lasting change. So with my client, I'm just so proud of her. Oh, thank you, honey. Hannah said, so true. Yeah, she does this work too. She's amazing. My client was just, the fact that she was beginning again in love, and she's really starting to look at each member that she's having a challenge with, and she said this was the first time that she's realized through our work together that the repair is not from the outside, that it's actually from inside of her. And like, my heart was just open. And this is one of the most important work that we can do in order to elevate all of us, right? So she's doing this work inside of her family unit, inside of her own heart, which will positively affect her husband. And this particular client wants to have children, so it will affect her future children in a very positive way. So when we do this type of work, it affects the generations behind us, our ancestors, and the generations ahead of us. And those of us that don't have biological children, it affects the people, it affects the generations anyway in your family, and also the people around you. So that was a little beautiful story where she's finding such deep acceptance of herself and also of the people that she's having this rupture with. And she's slowly moving through it in a very titrated way. So that means going into the difficult emotions and then coming back out of it, finding repair and safety, and then going back into it. And so I'm just so excited and proud of her. And I had another conversation today where we were talking about self-abandonment. And I wanted to touch on that too tonight, because the energies with the two retrogrades in Saturn and Neptune, and also with this moon in Cancer, the new moon that's coming up Friday, so that's in 2 days. And so it's a lot of healing for self-abandonment. So I'm pretty sure I might have touched on what self-abandonment is in other videos, but sometimes self-abandonment is very clear, right? So self-abandonment because sometimes what I'm starting to see is that sometimes self-abandonment can be tricky to recognize. So it's very obvious if you're saying yes when you mean no, if you're not sharing your desires and just kind of going along with the program. All of that is self-abandonment. That means that you're not sharing what you really desire, and you start to feel depleted after a while. The thing that gets tricky sometimes, and I'm looking at my notes because I wrote down something today. I can't find it. But sometimes when self-abandonment could be tricky is when we think that we're doing something positive for the relationship because we're so afraid of losing the relationship. And this could be an intimate partner, but this could also be a friend. This could also be a coworker. This could also be a family member. It could be anybody that is important to you, that you care about. And so, because so many relationships don't have this safe space for sharing and repair, that a lot of times people just keep it to themselves. I've done it too. And not happy to say it here. But this is an honest share, and that's what this 30 days is about. And so sometimes you think you're doing something positive because maybe you see that the other person isn't in a similar vibration as you. They're not going to quite understand. So in order for the relationship to not blow up, you just kind of work around it. And that's not 100% not okay. But the part that's not okay is if you are, in addition, not creating certain boundaries that can help you feel like you are taking care of yourself. If that's not happening, then poison is growing in that dynamic. Just going to take another sip of my green drink. So if you are going to realize, right? So we want to accept people, everyone, for who they are as they are, because we want to be accepted for who we are as we are, right? We don't want to be told, like, yeah, you're really great, but you're too sensitive, or so maybe if you get less sensitive, you can start working on that. Or, you're really great, but, I want you to change something, change your haircut or whatever. But we want to all be accepted for as we are. And we want to accept people for as they are, but not at the expense of your needs and desires. This is why not everybody is for everybody. But it can get complicated when there's a lot of goodness, and when maybe because you're related to them, or you work with them, or something where you want them in your life. And so what I'm learning, and so that I can teach it, is that there's a nuance. And the nuance is, I've taught for years about having healthy boundaries, right? So we want to be able to have healthy boundaries, which means these are certain things that are non-negotiables for me in order to feel good. But these things can change and adjust. And what I notice, I've gotten really great at listening to my intuition. And even with myself, if it's a very important relationship, or if it's a sensitive thing and I hear my intuition, I might put it off. So how many of you have gotten an intuitive nudge and was like, not yet, not now, or that's not okay, and second guessed it? I've done market research in the past, and I've had so many people say that they second guessed their intuition. And feel free to put in the comments if you have done that. And I know I have. And the thing is that the intuition is there to guide you. And life is so much more in flow when you listen to it. Yeah, thanks, Amy. You have. Me too. And the thing is that when we listen in the beginning, especially if our intuition is guiding us to do something that the other person might not be happy with, but it will help you feel better and still be in the relationship, right? So sometimes we can adjust, and not just, everything doesn't have to be black and white. But if we hold back on that guidance, and then we're doing this thing to, we think we're compromising, and we're looking for a way to work together, and we're looking for a way to be in this dynamic together, whatever kind of relationship it is. Hey, Terry. And so we're in this relationship, whether it's a love relationship, again, any kind of relationship. It doesn't have to be just your intimate love person. But if we are making these adjustments and saying, okay, like, I'm only going to share this much, and I shared this and they're not really getting it, and you're not creating another boundary to shift something for yourself so that you can feel okay and feel nourished and fed, then even if you have the best intentions and are wanting to, keep giving, what will happen eventually is you will be eventually overgiving, and you will start to feel resentment or anger, or you won't be able to be there for that person in a genuine, open way because you haven't made that shift. But this is where sometimes self-abandonment, it's so nuanced and little that it might not seem like a big deal, right? So there are times where like when I look back on my personal experience, I promised myself I would be more vulnerable in these lives. So in my personal experience, as I look back, especially in a significant partnership that I was in for a long time, and when I look back, when I finally awakened, for me, there was a realization, and it happened in just one day. It was one conversation. He said something to me, and it was like, doo doo doo, everything opened. It was like I was in a warehouse and the light after light after light after light went on, and it was a memory after memory after memory after memory of all these incidences where I was like, I don't need that. It's fine. And it was like rage. I didn't act out the rage because it takes a lot for me to rage out. But I was fully awake and I was finally done. And that was it. And he was very surprised when I left. And he thought it was fast and whatnot. And it wasn't. But in that particular situation, I had communicated a lot of things over the time that we were together. And I also made certain things that I didn't like. Then I was like, oh, it's fine. Oh, and I would go back and I would change it. And when I finally woke up to everything, it was super painful. There was a number of that was a big healing journey for me after that. And it was more about forgiving myself for that self-abandonment. Now that was a very obvious one. But when there are other people where you're just, maybe the other person's going through a really tough time, or maybe the other person has, you understand, you see that their ability to meet you where you desire them to be is really just not there. But you love them, so you try to adjust. So the nuance tonight, the lesson is, if you are making adjustments, that's okay. That's not wrong, right? Sometimes that's the most loving thing you can do, right? Because that's a part of full acceptance. Like, you're accepting that person as they are, exactly as they are, not waiting and wishing for the potential or change. At the same time, the other side of the coin is, okay, here are your needs. Like, here are your needs. Are you looking at here? Are you looking at your needs? And if you get an intuitive nudge to make a little shift somewhere in the dynamic, or what you're giving or receiving or whatever it is, and your job is to listen. So that's where meditation comes in. That's where coaching comes in. That's where conscious conversations come in. You must get quiet in order to listen. You cannot keep moving in this life so fast and never stop. Now, I'm going to speak again from my experience. I can't go into too much detail, but I meditate every single day. I've meditated every single day for many years now. Sometimes they're longer, sometimes they're shorter. I journal every day. I write my intentions, I write my gratitudes every morning, or I would say 99.9% of the mornings. And even I have missed where something was self-abandonment, where a trusted coach had to point it out to me. I was coached and I was shown something different, or it was a nuance of what abandoning myself meant. Because again, I'm kind of repeating because I'm trying to drive in the point, coming from different aspects. But the idea is that, yes, if this is a relationship that you want to keep in your life, and you are going to make certain adjustments, the next step is to check in here and see if there's anything else that you get to adjust for yourself so that you still feel fed and nourished. No relationship is going to thrive on only one party feeling nourished. You might think it's okay for a little while, but this is why you see, I'm going to give a generalization, but you'll see a lot of women with breast cancer, right? So the breasts are about giving, nurturing, and it's so common. We are reprogramming this now, but the old ways, the old programming was that, the women are naturally more nurturing for the most part, and so women are giving. And if you have nothing nice to say, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it. We were brought up saying that. I'm not that old, right? So if you have nothing nice to say, don't say it. And all these things, or maybe you were gaslit, or maybe you were abused, so you couldn't say these things. And then all of these, not saying anything, it's going to create something in the body. There's going to be an imbalance. And so even if it doesn't get to that point of in the body imbalanced, it might get to the point that there's going to be something in the relationship where you start to realize, like, I don't know why I said that, or I don't know why I didn't do that for that person. Normally I would do that. Normally I'm more giving. Like, you might not even understand your own actions. So the invitation is to keep asking yourself the questions, and get really honest with yourself, and get support if you're having difficulty and going in circles, right? Sometimes it just takes another person who's experienced this, might be a step ahead of you, or just as sometimes we just aren't able to see ourselves. Sometimes we require the reflection. And then the next step is, once we see our responsibility in it, or we see that where we might have veered, in other words, like the things I said before, like I normally give that, or I normally, I don't know why I said that. It wasn't, that's when we get to first give ourselves the compassion and understanding, and seek within to find the understanding, so that you can grow and make a shift and learn the lesson. But if you stay in the place of criticizing yourself, berating yourself, like, oh, I can't believe I did that, and no, you will not learn, because you'll be stuck in the loop of making yourself bad or wrong, right? We don't want to do that to our children either. If they make a mistake, if they do something that's misbehaved, we want to teach them. We want to take things as a teaching moment so that they can do that for themselves, right? So we want it to, the generations ahead of us, we want self-beratement to be something that is just not even on the earth anymore. We want to learn from love. We want to learn from practice. We want to learn from examples of people that have done the work. And that's why we're here, right? So that's why I'm doing the work. And as I do the work in real time, I am sharing it with my clients and my students, right? So tonight in class, we talked about self-compassion. And so, yeah, so this is like really important in the sense that it's always important. But this week, the energies are supporting you in that. And the fact that the new moon is in Cancer, and it makes us more sensitive. And of course, not everybody's going to feel the energies the same as everybody else. That's okay. If you haven't been crying this week, that's okay. I was crying last week. This week I haven't. No, that's not true. I've been crying. I've been crying. I'm okay with it though. I'm okay with it. I love that I cry. And I've shared this in the other video because I went through a period that I could not cry. I remember times where I'd be like trying to make myself cry. So no, it's a beautiful thing to cry. And I just had a student talk to me in class tonight about she's been crying and just really seeing herself and doing her best to honor herself. And these are the things that we get to do. And the thing is, when you honor yourself, you inspire others to do the same. So even if that person, like I'm looking back at a situation where I could have shared a different kind of boundary that was coming to me, and I didn't share it because I felt bad and I second guessed it, and I made myself busy and focused on other things. So I didn't even take the time to break it down, which normally I'm really good at. But when we know that when we hit something really sensitive, sometimes at first we don't dive right into it. of course, unless we're being coached. So when I brought it to my coach, I was able to go into it more deeply, and plus I do work on myself in between, of course. So as I'm sharing this out loud, my guess is that there's going to be other people out here, whether you're watching this live, and thank you for being here, or on the replay, or you might have a trusted friend that's going through something similar, because I'm seeing it in my personal life. I'm seeing it in at least 2 students and at least 2 clients. So this is coming around. And of course, as I did the research on what's going on astrologically, maybe I'll take a screenshot of some of my notes from class tonight. If you want me to share, you can drop me a note, and maybe I'll take a screenshot before I go to sleep tonight. So I feel like I'm going to wrap it up, and just looking down at my notes, see if I missed anything. So tonight the big thing is about, self-abandonment could be tricky. So notice where you might be missing that piece. Oh, here's a comment. I have cried yesterday morning and night. My song, you probably mean my sign, is Cancer. So definitely relate to being hard on the outside and soft on the inside. Yes. Yeah, so you're right in tune with what's going on in the energies, and so that's the big thing. And of course, healing self-abandonment is a big thing right now. And there was something else that was really huge. Oh yeah, about nurturing and making your home homey and nourishing, and also feeling, how can you create this nourishing, homey feeling inside of your body. I know that if I am going through something and I'm not sure how to resolve it, I start to feel unsafe in my body. Meaning, you can see here, I have lines now that I didn't used to have, right? This is from clenching my jaw, right? And so I'll feel the tightness in my jaw, or I'll feel tightness in my chest. And so when you get to notice the sensations in your body, you can start to work with it, right? You can start to tap. So I tap on it. I do breath. I do some of the somatic exercises that I've shared in some of the other videos. And we get to process, we get to move through this. And P.S., there are some times that if you did ignore that you were self-abandoning, and then a rupture happens, at that point, it is possible that the other person might feel that energy and come back, and in a negative way. And so this is another reason why it's so important, because there are no secrets in the universe. We are each other. So if you are feeling something, an energy inside of you, and you're putting on your happy face, like, I am love, I am light, I believe, all these things, but inside you're feeling a certain way, people are going to feel the dissonance. And so it could create a separation. Also, you might notice, as I said earlier, you might suddenly snap, or you might suddenly not do for the person that you would normally do, or you might not be able to hold space for that person like you normally do, because you're not saying the thing. And so and in love relationships, you might suddenly not want to have sex with your partner anymore because of that. Things shut down. Your body will shut down. Eventually, it all comes out on the surface. So the faster we can say the thing is a terminology I learned from one of my coaches, Emily Utter, and I love her. And but it is so true, and it's one of the biggest initiations. And then, of course, further on my path, I learned saying the thing is one thing that helps you grow and move and share and build relationships. And then not saying the thing sometimes is the wisest thing, when you start to realize that the person that you're interacting with can't meet you there. Like you've tried and they're pushing back, or or they keep doing the same thing. They might not be able to meet you there. And then of course it's your choice point to see, like, where are your boundaries? Where can you if this relationship is that important to you, can you stay in this relationship and have different boundaries so that you can still feel genuinely, authentically good? If you can't feel that way, then there's something that gets to shift, and you get to put on your big girl panties, your big boy panties, and say something, or make the shift. Hey, Leslie, or make the shift and make the change. And if you don't, it's going to come back tenfold in a negative way. and I'm speaking from experience, unfortunately. This is difficult, right? Here I am, I'm a teacher of this, but why am I a teacher of this? Because I've had to practice this. And so I've also had to learn to have compassion for myself, for my mistakes, and taking ownership for my side of the street, and clean up my side of the street and re-clean it up as many times as it takes. And who's ever supposed to be in my life will be in my life, and that's it. And so and when you're compassionate with yourself and you're doing this work and you start to take responsibility, you will have a bigger capacity for compassion for those around you. So everything starts in here, just like what the energy of this week is with the Cancer new moon. So start there. Start with maybe writing down 2 or 3 things that you can do to create a feeling of home in your body, right? So again, if you're not sure where to start with journaling, naming your emotions. Start with movement, breath, and sound. Even if it's like a or you could see yesterday's video where I showed you the breaking the chains movement. Try it all and see what works for you. Keep a running list of, like, this worked for me for sadness, this worked for me for anger, and perhaps you get a coach if you need. If you are not ready to invest in a coach, then watch videos like this. I will keep giving free content because God only knows that I have followed so much free content in my lifetime, as well as investing a lot of money in coaches. But there have been times where free was my best friend. And so this is my opportunity. Maybe that's part of the reason why I had the download, for me to give back what I've received in the past. That feels really good. Let me check in if there's anything else that they want me to share. No, I think that's it for tonight. Amy says, love these suggestions. Awesome, Amy. Amy, you're a beautiful student. I can't wait for you to be in one of my programs. I know that you will just fly. So, yeah, so for tonight, I'm going to sign off, and with gratitude, and just know I am a teacher of this, but I am not perfect. I am shoulder to shoulder with you. I've been on my knees too, and I probably will be again, and I'm here for it. I'm here in this human experience. God wants me here because I am here, and so I am allowing myself to be guided. I'm allowing Spirit to speak through me, and I keep clearing my channel and opening it so that I can speak as a clean, clear channel. And that's what I do in my healing work, on my one-on-one sessions, and of course in my coaching sessions, where I get to channel it all through and reflect back to you the light that you are and the power that you have. So if you didn't see the beginning of this, you can go back and hear about my current client story, which was really great. She's just really stepping into her power and seeing her choice and creating freedom. She's creating her own freedom. Yes, please. And you know that when you create freedom internally, this starts to expand in your life. This starts to expand in every aspect. So always start here. And if you start to point your finger, there's 3 pointing back to you. I know I've told you that before. Keep coming back here. I'm doing it with you. I'm in the trenches with you. We can do this. We can do this and be in our power. And don't be afraid to have your boundary. And don't be afraid to lose somebody. Oh God, okay, this is coming through. If you are setting a healthy boundary and you are not doing it from a place of trigger, you're not calling it a healthy boundary, but you're really being spiteful. So checking in on yourself and being real with yourself. If you're creating a healthy boundary and maybe you've had to repeat it in a different way and it's still not being honored, and then you've expressed your boundary and the other person rejects you for it, I am inviting you to be okay with that. They're not your person then. And I'm talking about across the board. It doesn't matter what kind of relationship it is. So it's up to you in your heart, being true with yourself, to find that balance where you can compromise, but not to the point of abandoning your needs. And that's how I'm going to end tonight. All right. So much love, so much love. Start setting your intentions with this new moon. Slow down, feel, and take care of you. Namaste.